Hey, what's up everyone? How's it going? Azren here. So, I want to do something a little bit interesting today to help you guys learn some different vocabulary points in English, French, and Spanish. So what we're going to do is there's a children's story that is called Little Red Riding Hood. I'm sure many of you know it. I'm going to put a link in the description for you guys to read the full story if you want to. But I'm going to read a very, very small passage out in English, French, and Spanish and read it out and go through some of the vocabulary because I was actually reading it and I noticed there's some very interesting vocabulary points that you guys can learn literally just by a very small paragraph in the story. If you are here strictly for the French part of this video and just for French vocabulary, please go to this timestamp. If you're here for Spanish, please go to this timestamp. If you're here for English, please go to this timestamp here. You can just skip to that part of the video. Let's start things off with French. And it's basically where the Little Red Riding Hood, she enters the grandmother's house and sees the wolf in her grandmother's bed. And this is the exchange that happens here. Elle s'écria, bonjour, mais nulle réponse. So what does that mean? Elle s'écria. What is that? Well, s'écria, it's basically a past tense verb of I guess it'd be écrier, which basically is like something like crier, like to cry out. So she cries out like bonjour, and it's actually done in passé simple. So elle s'écria, that it's in passé simple, which is actually a verb tense only used in writing. So it's basically the equivalent of passé composé, except only in writing. Elle s'écria bonjour, mais nulle réponse. So no answer. Mais nulle réponse. Elle s'approcha du lit. So again, notice some passé simple there. Elle s'approcha du lit et tira les rideaux. So again, tira and s'approcha, two words again using passé simple in French. Okay? So she approached the bed and opened up the blinds. Okay? Donc elle s'approcha du lit et tira les rideaux. La grand-mère y était couchée. Sa coiffe tirait très bas sur son visage. Elle avait l'air bizarre. Et donc, so this person, the Little Red Riding Hood, she's like, wow, grandma looks a little strange. So she goes, oh, grand-mère, comme tu as de grandes oreilles. So the grandes oreilles, so very big ears, right? So oreilles is ears, okay? The grandes oreilles. And the wolf goes, c'est pour mieux t'entendre. So it's to be able to hear you better, right? Then she goes, oh, grand-mère, comme tu as de grands yeux. So, oh wow, how do you have the grands yeux, very big eyes, because the wolf obviously has bigger eyes than a human. And she goes, the wolf goes, excuse me, ah, c'est pour mieux te voir. So the girl then goes, oh, grand-mère, comme tu as de grandes mains. Like, wow, your hands are very big. And she goes, c'est pour mieux étreindre. Mais grand-mère, comme tu as une horrible et grande bouche. So how you have such a horrible and big mouth. And the wolf, of course, if you read the story, knows, basically goes, c'est pour mieux te manger. Et à peine le loup eut-il prononcé ces mots, qu'il bondit hors du lit et avala le pauvre petit chaperon rouge. A couple key points in the story if you go choose to read it in French. Number one, lots of passé simple, right? So you can see lots of verbs conjugated in passé simple. Number two, there's going to be a lot of different words you don't know, or even some stuff that might seem simple that you don't know. So for example, right, like body parts, lots of body parts in here. So we have like des yeux, des mains, des oreilles, so mains, des yeux, oreilles, right, ears. And I like the way that the story is written. It's actually written in a very, using some language that isn't necessarily overly simple, so you can actually learn some pretty good verbs, or words and verbs. I'll put a link in the description. Please go check it out. It's actually I think it was good for a lot of you to read this in French. Now, time to go into Spanish. The part I'm going to read, guys, in Spanish here, part where the girl, she walks into her grandmother's house, the wolf is there, and the wolf has already eaten the grandma. The wolf is wearing the grandma's clothes, and the girl and the grandma, or the wolf rather, the girl and the wolf, have a bit of a conversation. So ahí parecía estar la abuelita con su gorro cubriéndole toda la cara y con una apariencia muy extraña. Oh, abuelita, dijo, ¿qué orejas tan grandes que tienes? So, ¿qué orejas tan grandes que tienes? So like, wow, look at what big ears you have. So, orejas is ears. And then she goes, the wolf goes, es para oírte mejor, mi niña. So it's feel to hear you a little bit better, my sweet, I guess you could call it, right? Fue la respuesta. pero abuelita, qué ojos tan grandes que tienes. So it's like saying, oh grandma, how big your eyes are. Like, wow, you have such big eyes. And of course, if you guys read the story, you know that she goes, son para verte mejor, querida. So querida and niña are two different words you could use, a grandmother could use for their granddaughter. So it's like saying like, oh my sweet, something like that. Okay? And then, pero abuelita, qué brazos tan grandes que tienes. So brazos are like your arms, right? Which here, my arms are getting very tired right now from holding this camera, but qué brazos tan grandes que tienes. The wolf goes, para abrazarte mejor. So para feel to give you a better hug, basically. And then, of course, the famous part of the story, y qué boca tan grande que tienes. Right? So how big your mouth is. And then the wolf goes, para comerte mejor. Y no había terminado de decir lo anterior, cuando de un salto salió de la cama y se tragó también a la caperucita roja. A couple key things. I really like the Spanish version of this story because it's a relatively simple story, but there's a lot of good vocabulary in it that you could actually that you guys can learn from. So I think that there's some simple stuff like orejas, boca, there's manos, I think there's manos, or brazos, actually, sorry, brazos, so your arms. There's simple stuff like that. But they have other, like, I wish I can't really find any right now, but there's a lot of good words as I was reading the whole story that has, like, some more complicated words, right, that you might not come across every day. So, for example, like, caperucita even, like, caperucita, like, that's not a word you're going to come across every day, or, like, things like, I wish I could find one right now, but there's a lot in there. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can go read the full story. It's super, super interesting to be able to read it and actually get a lot of the vocab out of it. And now let's move on to the English version. So we're going to read only the part where the girl goes in to the grandmother's room. The wolf is in the bed dressed as the grandma, and the wolf and the girl are having a little bit of a conversation, okay? So the girl starts things off and she says, grandmother, what big arms you have. So, right, so wow, your arms are your arms are so big, right? They're very, very big because a wolf has bigger, or I guess assuming has bigger arms than a human. And the wolf says, all the better to hug you with, my dear. So all the better is basically saying, they're big, so that they're big arms, so the grandma, or the wolf in this case, can give a better hug, okay? Then the girl goes, grandmother, what big legs you have, right? So, wow, your legs are very big. And the grandmother, or rather the wolf, says, all the better to run with, my child. So the legs are very big, so the grandmother can run faster and better. Then the girl goes, what big ears you have, right? So her ears, like, they're so big, the ears are so big. And the grandmother says, all the better to hear with, my child, right? So they're so big so she can hear better, right? So the wolf is trying to convince the girl that, no, I'm your grandma, I'm not a wolf. The girl then goes, grandmother, what big eyes you have. And of course the wolf goes, all the better to see you, my dear. And then there's the famous line, grandmother, what big teeth you've got, right? So wow, your teeth are so big. And then of course the grandmother goes, all the better to eat you up with. So eat you up, just so you know what that means. To eat up, I guess would be a bit of a phrasal verb in English. A phrasal verb, to eat up, which basically means to eat something in a very fast, and a very almost, to really eat fast and eat a lot of food quickly. It's kind of what it means to eat up. So if I go, time to eat up your food, it's like saying time to really eat your food almost quickly. It gives you this idea of eating it quickly. Very, very interesting. I highly recommend, I'll put a link in the description for you guys to go read this. Highly recommend you do. Simple story, but with very interesting vocabulary that you guys can learn from. So that is the end of this video. Hope you guys liked that. Tested something new today. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye for now.